So this is something very simple, but something also very complicated. Something that is a realization that you have to actually break yourself to make yourself. You have to break yourself to make yourself. And sometimes life will put you in a position where you have to actually be broken in order to be made whole. So the word whole, WHOLE, is complete. It's whole. It's actually holy, like HOLLY, holy. And then it's also HOLE, the whole, which is where you have to drain certain things that's in you. So sometimes you find yourself in a situation that's draining you or breaking you. And then that whole is what makes you holy. When you look at the O, which is the whole number, the whole circle, full circle, it's 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 complete, but there's a hole, a big hole, HOLE, in that hole, HOWLE. So there's the hole in the hole. And this is when you find yourself like drained in that hole, in the HOLE, so that you can be HOLE, so that you can be whole, the whole. And sometimes you have to break yourself to make yourself. So this is the message of Psalms, the psalmist David. He was saying that the only acceptable sacrifice to God is a broken spirit. And this is the whole life of David. He was broken in so many different ways, and then he was made whole in so many different ways. And he had the whole plan, but then he couldn't do the whole thing. He left that whole, but then he left the plan whole. So it's not a play of words. It's because when we are in the universe, we are in one verse or one word, and those words are worlds, and the world is made by the word. The word became flesh. The word, when it came into the world, was broken, but without being broken. Not a single bone was broken, but that whole became our holiness. That whole, what Jesus came to do, he would have been on earth, but then he was actually brutally killed. And then that was how we became whole, by him leaving a hole, by him leaving a space. And his space is all in all, the small in all, SM, all, small in all, ALL. And that's the whole world. And that's his spirit that came to make us whole, because he was left, he left a space that was like an HOLE, a hole. So sometimes you have to break yourself to make yourself. And this break is sometimes you have to take a break from something. Break yourself to make yourself. This is the break you take every Sabbath. This is the hole you leave in the week that makes everything complete. So this is why it's so important, but we actually don't do it as we're supposed to do it. If the whole world took this little break, then it would make everything else. So after God made everything, he had to take a break from everything. So even this concept is universal. This concept is very simple, but this concept is not so easy because we're in a very high paced world. So what the prophet Daniel said when he's like, in the latter days, people will run to and fro because everything is going to increase. But then we have to decrease in order to increase. So this is the subject of humility. In order that you become small, in order to be all, you become broken in order to be made. So you have to break yourself to make yourself. You have to break certain habits in order to make your world, your habitat. You have to break certain cycles. You have to break certain loops. You have to break certain relationships. You have to break certain thought patterns in order to make yourself, in order to make other patterns, other habits, and other practices. So you have to break yourself to make yourself. So if you don't take a break from what you're doing, you won't be able to see what needs to be made, or you won't be able to see what has been made. So you have to break yourself to make yourself. So sometimes you'll be in a situation where you don't know why you're going through what you're going through. And then this is when you have to reflect and break it down. Break it down, see what needs to be seen, see what you have been seeing, and see what you've been seeing and not seeing, because we have this tendency of seeing but not seeing, hearing but not hearing, doing but not doing. But we have to do without doing. We have to see without seeing. We have to hear without hearing. This is the essence of the ether. This is the essence of Ethiopia. This is the essence of life, that you have to see. Like faith is the evidence of things unseen. And then when we hear the voice of God, we don't actually hear it, but we hear it. So we have to hear without hearing. We have to see without seeing, because we walk by faith, not by sight. So you have to break yourself to make yourself. So sometimes God will break you to make you. But if you're ahead of the loop, then you're going to do it. You're going to break yourself, because I am that I am is God in you, which is not to say that you are the creator of the universe, but you are a reflection, a fragment, a broken piece of the whole universe. We have been educated in such a way that we do not see ourselves as an aperture through which the whole cosmos looks out. I have a song about that, but that's a quote from Alan Watts, which has that part in it. So you have to break yourself to make yourself. So you have to break out of certain patterns. You have to break out of certain loops. You have to break out of the mold of thinking. You have to break away from the crowd, because the path is narrow and we can't always see it. So you have to break yourself to make yourself. Sometimes God is the one who's just going to break you. And then you're going to be wondering, why? Why did God do this? But it's because you're being broken in order to be made. And this is the only sacrifice that is worthwhile. It's not about you giving your anything, but then it's a broken spirit that is what counts. That's what counts. So to be broken means breaking habits. To be broken, it means the hole in your holiness. To be broken is the hole that leads to you being complete. But in order to do that, you have to be aware of what is around you, your environment, your mind, your senses, and through this you'll be able to make yourself. So this is a realization that I'm getting, because not everything is gonna be like smooth, but after, like what happens after, those are the things that will actually create who you become. But you can't know it before. Before is be and forward, and before is behind. So before is actually after. So if you don't know what happens before, then you don't know what will happen after. So breaking will happen before you're made. So don't be afraid to break certain things to make certain things. And usually this is what we need to do. We need to break the muscle in order to make new muscle. That's how exercise works. So no matter what you're going through, if you feel like you're being broken, just realize that you're actually being made. And if you are in a situation where you want to make something of yourself or your situation or your life, then maybe you need to take a break. Sabbath, right? You need to take a break, look back, and then you can break yourself to make yourself. So don't be afraid of that. In fact, you have to embrace it. You have to embrace the brokenness. You have to embrace the wholeness. You have to embrace your holiness. And this is how you will become whole, by filling in the hole with your all. And it might be small. Sometimes you might make a small change, but this is the concept of all change, that it starts off with one verse, with one word, and with one world. And through this, you can make yourself. So don't be afraid to offer a broken spirit, because you have to break yourself to make yourself.